Hey everyone, I'm Alex McDaniel with Gridiron Now, standing here with our own Rachel Baribeau, who is here all week for SEC Media Days. Now this morning we had Mississippi State's Dan Mullen answering a lot of uncomfortable questions about Jeffery Simmons and that entire case. So Rachel, tell us what you heard. You were in the radio room at the time. So what were the questions asked and how did Mullen respond?
Well, the first question that he was asked, and I asked it, was given the current climate, help us understand, you've been taking a lot of heat, help us understand the one-game suspension, and with everybody watching, with administrators, with players, with fans watching, and the climate in which there's a lot of violence against women and everything happening right now. How did you come against this or about this one-game decision? And I said, I heard in the other room that I said it was on the administration, and he said it was, and I'm not always involved in these decisions, and we welcome him to the family. So I pushed again, and I said, but as a father and as a husband, please help me understand. And he said, we're happy to welcome the family. We think that the young man should get an education. We think the young man should, be enrolled in the school. And I wasn't, just sidestepped it completely, Alex.
Yeah. And so when we look ahead to, well, even just backing up a little bit, I think the biggest lingering question for a lot of us is when they placed a value on what that punishment deserved. It's one thing to admit Jeffery Simmons to school. It's one thing to have him on the team. It's almost like they could have looked a lot better by not having him sit out any games rather than saying, all right, this is worth a one-game suspension, essentially a targeting penalty.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said, listen, I would have been okay if they would have just an indefinite suspension and then it just kind of went away. I don't know that I necessarily would have been okay with that, but here's what I wanted to say back to him, and the time ended, and there was another explosive question I'll tell you about in a minute that somebody else asked, but I wanted to say to him, Coach, no one's saying you don't get a chance, and the young man doesn't get a chance at an education. No one's saying that he doesn't deserve a second chance. I am a royal screw up, okay? And have come a long way. So I understand him wanting to give the young man another chance and to rehabilitate his life. But when you give the young man one game, you are sending a clear and present message to not only women, but to players on your teams and recruits of the future to say, you know what, you can screw up in this way, and we'll give you a one-game suspension. It's all. If it wasn't so disgusting, it'd be laughable. I want to tell you this one other question that was asked, if
Absolutely,
you don't mind.
Of course.
And it was a member of the AJC, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He said, but what if it were your wife and your daughter? And he said, and I think he'd like to have this back, I don't think my wife or my daughter would be in that situation.
Definitely not a question he was prepared to answer.
He wasn't prepared, and let me reiterate this. I don't think Dan Mullen's a bad person. I think he's a wonderful person, a wonderful coach. I've been around him. I've interviewed him. I know him. I think he made a sore mistake here today, and I think the handling of the punishment for him all around, university, athletic director, coach, I think there's all some culpability there. But as it goes with Tennessee, I kind of think they're in a different boat, Alex. And the reason why is it's called $2.48 million, and it's not about the money. I think it's about the closure. And that's what Tennessee said. Tennessee said, we don't want to go through this anymore because we don't want to drag the victims through it anymore. We want to give them what they are due. Okay, we're not admitting fault, but what we are saying is if we close this, we can move forward and we can do better. We can add members to our Title IX office. I think they added 6. Yeah. We can move forward. We can be a beacon for other colleges to say, we're going to try to do better. We're not admitting fault, but we're going to try to do better. And so I think what Tennessee effectively did is they closed a chapter and they started a new chapter, and that chapter is reconciliation and healing. They're not in the same situation as Mississippi State, in my opinion.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. You can keep up with all of our coverage this week at SEC Media Days at gridironnow.com.